Hey everybody, it's Raidhyn here coming at you with a training room tutorial on how to use lances with a little bit of bonus about Roland's lance signatures at the end. So the lance is a pretty interesting weapon in Brawlhalla. It's a little bit more difficult to go up, and I'm just going to be going over all of its moveset and kind of the different properties and situations in which you want to use it. So let's start off with standing neutral. It's your multi-hitting poke here. It's going to do 2 attacks if you whiff, but if you hit, you'll actually get 3 attacks, and it builds really good damage. 22 damage is pretty solid. And you basically want to use this when you're in a grounded situation. You're not really sure what else to put out there, simply because of the fact that it comes out pretty quick. It also has some good priority. If we turn on our hitboxes really quick, we can take a look and see, you know, the hitboxes on it are pretty forward. It really covers that forward space, and it's just really good for any kind of frontal attack. Turn these, well, let's go ahead and leave hitboxes on, even though they linger. So let's get rid of Bryn really quick. So that's the standing neutral. Now, the cool thing about the standing neutral is that there's very little delay between doing this twice. So if somebody's dodging through you, you can get this, and if somebody dodges on the ground, you can just churn around and hit them with another one. All right, let's go over the combo starter. This is your side light. And the thing that's nice about this is that it's got a nice amount of stun, so you can combo it into pretty much any aerial follow-up attack. You can combo it into side light, you can combo it into down light. The timing is a little strict, but you can also, you know, you can this is your basic combo starter. So probably one of the most useful ones is this into neutral, just because neutral does 25 points of damage, so the neutral air actually is one of your most damaging tools. So, you know, if you have the option to do a neutral follow-up, you should usually do that. But if you're looking for a solid knockout, doing it into recovery is really good as well. To do that, you just need to do it you know, instantly, and you can see it does less damage overall than if you combo it into neutral air. You know, neutral air being your most damaging option, but, you know, at later health levels, once we get, you know, somebody down to red, if you do manage to get this combo starter off, you can get a knockout with it pretty easy. So that's your side light, your combo starter. Now, down light is really interesting because they just recently changed this in 1.15, so that it's kind of got this backwards kind of movement to it, which means that it's pretty safe. The other thing that's nice about it is that it works if you're stacked up, because you move backwards. So even if you're in front of the character, like even if the character's behind you, it's still gonna pick them up towards the end of the hit. So if somebody is right on top of you, you know, you can still hit with this, but it's not as safe as doing this because it doesn't have the backwards movement. We can see it does pretty similar damage. You know, side light's gonna miss entirely if you're stacked up, you know, depending on the exact positioning. But this down light is pretty much always going to hit, and it's got really good recovery, and it's, you know, pretty good to just toss out there. So those are your grounded light moves. Now, as we talked about, we've got the neutral air. The neutral air is really great because it basically punishes people who try to dodge forward through it. So if you've got an enemy who's about, you know, where this platform is, and you toss this out, if they try to dodge through it, they're going to get hit by the last hitbox. So, you know, people have to either dodge away or dodge downward diagonally to avoid this, and not a lot of players do that, which is why so many people complain about this neutral lance, because it punishes those through dodges. So if you're up against lance and you're trying to beat this, all you need to do is know that you can move away. Now, what's interesting about the neutral is that it is actually somewhat steerable. If you push a diagonal direction, or if you're moving while you toss this out, it'll actually travel a little bit. And one of the things that not a lot of people know is you can actually increase the momentum of this by combining it off of a recovery. So if you recovery low to the ground, you can actually get this to come out afterwards, where it'll hit grounded opponents. And this little trick is something I've been seeing a lot of high-level players do recently, just to create more forward movement off of the neutral. So if we get Bryn to stand down here, you can see, like, you can land this from halfway across the stage if somebody's on the ground. And so combining these two really is a really interesting tactic because it covers a lot of space. The neutral is really difficult to punish, especially if you're using it in the right situations. Now let's talk about side light. So side light has some decent force to it, but it's only really going to kill if they're in like the deep red or if they're towards the edge of the map. And the problem with this is that this has a lot of recovery. You know, you can see if you mistime it, you're pretty much right in the position where somebody is going to be able to hit you afterwards. So you usually want to follow up the side air with something else. You want to, if you're still in the air, you can neutral low to the ground. If you land, you know, let's say you do it low to the ground. If you land, you can do a neutral right afterwards. But you never just want to do this and then not have any follow-up, because if you haven't gotten hit, chances are they're preparing a hit or preparing a signature, and you want to try to hit them out of that as quickly as possible. Usually the neutral is the best follow-up option. Now the down light is really interesting because it's the one that has all of the variable damage. As we can see on the down light, there's actually 2 hitboxes. There's one on the lance and on Roland's feet on the body. So the idea is that what you want to do, you want to kind of trap the player between these 2 hitboxes, because if you get them between both hitboxes, you can see it does a lot of damage. If you only get them on the tip, it does half the damage. So the idea is you want to angle this for maximum damage, and it does a ridiculous amount, but only in some cases. So it's kind of unreliable. Now, one of the tricks that people have been using for downlight is to use it in edge guard situations where if somebody's on the wall, instead of going for a ground pound, let's say, you know, your opponent is right here just below these ropes, you can go and do a downlight and kind of just drive them into the wall, and it'll actually bounce them backwards. So this is actually a pretty good edge guard tool as well, because it covers more downward space, almost like a dive kick when you're using it against the wall. So, you know, you can try and bust this out in recovery in edge guard situations when somebody's wall hugging, and it can often catch people by surprise. Yeah, so let's talk about the recovery one more time. So the recovery is actually one of the most interesting recovery moves in the game, because you can actually chain these together and do 2 in a row, which is a property that's unique to the lance. So the most interesting tool is, let's say if you're going for somebody who's over here and they dodge through at the last moment, you can actually churn and get off another recovery to punish their dodge. It's a little bit tricky to do because you have to churn in mid-air, but it's definitely worth practicing because you get to cover all of this space and punish people who try to dodge through your first recovery hit, which is just really useful. So you can see it kind of like between the 2 of them, it covers almost this like triangle space. And it works too if you're, you know, coming from this direction from the left side of them and they dodge, you know, doing this twice pretty much puts you in a perfect position. So you want to be doing this after you've gotten a juggle of some kind. It's definitely really useful. And as you can see, it has a load of force. So those are basically the lance attacks and the lance techniques. You know, usually when I play lance, I like to stay grounded. I like to pull out some of these. I like to, you know, do some soft pseudos. If people are approaching you from the air, you can toss out these neutrals, and again, you know, using your recovery to kind of speed yourself along the ground, combining that with neutral. And yeah, I mean, lance is really interesting. The one thing you do want to be careful of is doing things like this when you're recovering, because if you get more distance as you charge this. However, you become really predictable, and during this charge time, you're susceptible from a spike. You know, any kind of thing is going to hit you out of this, especially sword down light and axe down light, so you want to be careful. But one of the tricks of the trade that you can do is, let's say you get horizontally hit all the way out here, you can use multiple side lights to get closer back to the stage instead of using your jump. You know, so if you're all the way out here and you need to get back, you can actually side light your way back to the stage, which is another unique lance property. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully that helps explain a little bit about how the lance works. You know, typical lance gameplay, you want to be doing a lot of these for damage, and then, you know, your neutral air is really safe against a lot of things, so you're going to see a lot of neutral airs, which is good. Get used to kind of maintaining this forward momentum as you neutral air. Kind of work on this combination so you can get these like long distance neutral follow-ups, or, you know, downlight follow-ups, because this is basically going to give you a free air attack really low to the ground, which is kind of interesting. Just be cautious about using too many side lights or downlights, just because they're pretty punishable compared to the rest of the moves. So that about covers it for lance stuff. Let's quickly go over Roland's lance signatures, because they're kind of different. So first off, he's got this horse attack. And basically, you only want to use this if you think your opponent is going to, if you get like a hard read on an air dodge. It does a lot of damage and force, which is pretty nice. but it's one of those things where, you know, at 20 points of damage, it's not that great. As you can see, it doesn't hit people on the ground at all. So there's usually better choices. I'm trying to see if I can get Bryn to stand on this platform so we can hit her with this. You know, 21 points of damage compared to your neutral, which does 25. You don't really want to be tossing this out unless you get a hard read on somebody and you're thinking you can get a knockout on it. Now, what is interesting is this move. For a long time, I thought that Roland's down signature was pretty useless. But what's interesting about it is the reach of the hitboxes. You know, we can see, so if you back up here, the reach for this goes to about the edge of the bush here on Mammoth Fortress. But if we do a down, it goes almost double the distance. It's really deceptive in how far it goes. So if you're playing a footsie battle with somebody and, you know, maybe another Lance player and they're doing this to you, you can actually hit them with your down signature. So this is actually a really good spacing tool if you're ending up being in some kind of footsies battle. You know, it comes out not super fast. You can still react to it, but it's definitely got its uses when you're in those grounded spacing battles. Now, the last and final one of Roland's is his forward signature, which has this, you know, long driving forward hit. And what's cool about this is that it will hit people who are airborne, even if the first hit doesn't land. It makes a pretty decent dodge punish, and, you know, if you get the full hit, it does an okay amount of damage. Still not as much as the neutral light, so you still want to be tossing this out more. You know, but in those areas where neutral light isn't gonna get a knockout, this one is a really good tool for kind of picking people up and getting rid of them. So yeah, that's the basic run through for the Lance. I hope this video was helpful for you. I know one of my YouTube users, or watchers rather, requested this, so I hope that this has helped you out and give you a little bit better of a breakdown. If you guys want to see some really good Lance play, there are a lot of amazing Vrax and Scarlet and Roland players on the Diamond ladder right now, and hopefully, you know, as we do more of the ranked series, I'll be able to capture more of that. I'm still planning to play a lot of Roland, and I'm working on my Lance game as well, so stay tuned for more of that. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope this helps you out.